how can you get your clients better results and use those results to get more clients? I'm Chris Cooper. This is Business is Good. And today I'm going to give you the A+ framework for getting clients better and better and better results over time and using those results to get more clients. If this is helpful to you, please hit subscribe so that I can make sure that I get the best stuff to you as often as possible, or visit me at businessisgood.com. So there are 4 phases of getting a client really good results. These 4 phases all start with A, and the first one is assessment. The second is adherence. The third is affinity, and the fourth is authority. I had this epiphany as I was working through things and growing my own practice from one client to thousands of clients around the world. What happened was that at first, the experience that I had at my own gym was enough to help certain other gyms. You know, they would learn how to write a staff playbook because that's what I had done. And they would copy my staff evaluation and they would do what I did to get referrals. But over time, the next clients that followed my advice, they tweaked it a little bit, or they went harder on it, or they did better at it than I did. And so we had to learn what they were doing, and that sped up the next generation of gyms even faster. And now this third generation started doing new things that I had never done, like Facebook marketing. And we had to capture those lessons and bring them back to everybody else. And now, several generations of clients later, the gyms are growing faster than my gym ever did. They're achieving results that I never even thought possible years ago when I started coaching other gym owners. And it's all because of the A+ framework for getting client results. Let's start with assessment. You need to be able to measure and track how your client is doing compared to the rest of the industry, or at least like their peers. Years ago, when I was coaching gyms, I was mostly coaching CrossFit gyms, and I flew out to CrossFit headquarters in Santa Cruz, and I met with a lot of the inner circle of the people running CrossFit. Their CEO was there, their COO was there, and they did things pretty informally. So we met at this cafe, we were having breakfast, we were sitting outside, we were having avocados and toast, and they said, Chris, what's the number one thing that we could do to help our gyms grow? And CrossFit's a licensing model if you're not familiar. So I said, well, you could just track data. You could get data on how many clients the gyms have, how big their space is, how much they spend on equipment, what they're paying in rent, how many staff they have. Just collect that data. You don't have to tell us what to do with it, because when you start doing that, you become a franchise and you take responsibility for everybody's success. But just give us the data and let us make the decisions. And I'll never forget this. The COO, he turns to me and he's like, that was a great idea, but we're never going to do it. And I was despondent for about 12 hours. And then finally, I realized that I was best positioned to do it. And even though this was a daunting task, if I could figure it out, I could help thousands of gym owners just by providing this data for them. Because tracking the data, knowing the averages, is the key that allows people to exceed that average and become better and push the envelope up over time. This was easy when I was teaching from my own experience because my data set was N equals 1, me. It was only me. But over time, as we wanted to expand what was possible in gyms, we had to grow that data set. And so we had to start off by building an app that would track data. So first, people would put their own data in and we would report on that. Here are what the top 300 gyms in the world are doing. Then, as people saw what was happening, they wanted to participate. And so the big software providers started approaching us and saying, how can we tie our data in? And we became this hub of data that now allows us to publish a state of the industry guide every year for 13,000 gyms. It's amazing. Nobody else has this kind of data. I didn't know it at the time, but just having this data would put us in a position of authority, and I'll come to that in a moment. The second stage of the A+ client results framework is adherence. We have to hold the people accountable to doing the actual work. Years ago, my CFO said something to me that was really profound, and he said, all people have to do to be successful is keep doing the thing that we know works until it stops working, or until it works, right? So for example, people were giving up on Facebook ads way too soon in 2018. They didn't know how to do it. It was complicated. They wanted to teach fitness. They didn't want to learn Facebook ads. We knew how to do it and we would teach it to them, but they would usually give up too soon. They would spend, $50 on Facebook ads. They wouldn't get a result and they would say, that's it, I'm done. So adherence is key to getting clients results, and your coaches, your mentors must hold the clients to what they know works until it's working for them. Okay? That means the coaches have to strictly adhere to your data set and what has been proven to work instead of just running off on their own ideas. Early on in our mentorship practice, the first couple of mentors we hired were just given free rein. You're successful, tell other people what you did. The problem is that now we had my N=1 experience, we had their N=1 experience, and another person's N=1 experience, and nobody was getting any better, right? Our goal as coaches is to produce people who exceed our level, not rise to our level and then stop there. So you have to have more than just that experience, and you have to be able to hold your coaches, your concierges, all of your staff, and your clients to following the bigger data set. As your data grows and you learn how to get people better results, you have to turn around and teach that to your coaches too. So adherence is important for your clients and also for your coaches. And so what we track here is engagement. We want to know that people are following the program. We want to know that our coaches are getting the people on calls, that people are getting what they pay for, that they're showing up for office hours, that they're reporting their metrics, that they're doing the work. And so the app that we eventually built to track this data became more. It became a way for us to look at our coaching staff and to see what level of retention do they have? What level of client engagement do they have? We use a client engagement score as a metric to track our adherence and how well our coaches are holding people to doing the work. Our adherence level target is 98%. That means that we look at, has the client been on a call this month? Have they had an email from the coach? Do they have a clear assignment on what needs to be done? Our target is 98%, even with over 800 gyms in the program and thousands of gyms around the world. We want to know that people are adhering. That's as important as it is. The reason adherence is so important to the A+ results framework is that knowledge is not enough. If people know what to do but don't do it, they will not get the results, and you will not be able to produce A+ results for them. The third stage of the A+ results framework is called affinity. This is how tightly tied your clients and your staff are to your brand. It's really important that people feel connected to you and they want to be around you. They want to be associated with you. They might even want to brag that they're in your program. They might want to put your program's logo on their website. Like, we have people ask, can I display that I'm a Two Brain Gym? Because they're proud of it and they want their clients to know that they are investing in a better client experience. So this affinity is what eventually leads people to referrals, and that's a big part of results too. But the third phase of the A+ results framework is affinity. And to build high affinity, you have to build trust and connection. That means you have to have a very clear mission. You have to share that mission often with your staff so that everybody is headed in the exact same direction. They know where they're going. If they're not aligned with the mission, sadly, they can get off the bus, but the people who stay on the bus know where they're going. They feel connected to that mission, even if they haven't spoken to you for a while. Another way to build affinity is to brag about your clients. You have to identify who the best ones are and then tell their story. Put them on a podium, make them feel famous. Nobody else is doing this for them in their life. And so what we do every single month is we look at the top 10 clients in different categories of metrics that we track. For example, we might publish a leaderboard of the top 10 gyms for most clients, or the top 10 gyms for retention, or the top 10 gyms for ARM. And we publish that every single month. We blur out the names publicly. In our private groups, we trumpet who the leaders are. We invite people to connect with them. And then we put them on our podcast and say, what are you doing differently? Now, this is really important because it feeds into the next part of the A+ results framework, but we can learn from these people too. So we put them on the podcast. Hey, what are you doing? What they'll say is that 90% of what they're doing is exactly what Two Brain taught them to do. They're just following that process verbatim, but maybe they've added one more thing. Oh, I put captions on my TikTok videos. We can learn from that. If it works for other people, we can put it into our curriculum later. The last piece of building affinity after making people famous is to publish your values often. You need to let people know what you stand for so that they can decide whether they align with that or if they should go somewhere else. A couple of our values are lead with positivity. That means we really work well with clients who want to be positive and actively positive. And another is base decisions on evidence, evidence-based decision making. We want to work with clients who are smart enough to understand that there are unproven tactics being pushed by fake business coaches out there. So far in our A+ results framework for clients, we have covered assessment, adherence, and affinity. And the fourth stage of the A+ results framework is called authority. You build authority by sharing stories of what you've done for other people. And that means publishing your clients' stories. Now, what you've probably noticed about the A+ results framework is that each stage feeds into the next one. The assessment feeds into the adherence. You know how to help somebody best. You can pair them with the best mentor. Adherence feeds into affinity. If they do the work, they will have this outcome, and we will build trust with them as they get the outcome. And affinity feeds into authority because you can share the stories of what your clients are doing right. You can also, by publishing a lot, you can change the entire lexicon of your industry. I learned this from CrossFit. When I was working for CrossFit, they suddenly had people using their language. They were saying WOD, even if they weren't doing CrossFit. They were wearing like board shorts and high knee socks to the gym. Even if they weren't doing CrossFit, they were talking about intensity and scaling, even if they weren't doing CrossFit. Suddenly all these gyms had bumper plates and gymnastics rings that they never had before CrossFit. They changed the lexicon of the entire industry, and that moved the entire industry toward them. We use terms at Two Brain Business like ARM, average revenue per member per month, leg, length of engagement. We use words like affinity marketing that other people have now adopted. And we've got competitors in the space using our terms to measure their client success. That in itself is success, and that demonstrates our authority because we just made these terms up. I wanted to give people simple metrics to track that would tell them whether they were building their business or not, and we did that by giving them a simple, easy to remember name. Next, you want to teach your audience to be smarter than your competition. So when your competition in the same niche says, "We know how to get 30 new clients with Instagram ads," your clients can say, "Well, we already know that too, and the stuff that you're talking about is 6 months old." Right? That it just doesn't work anymore. Or we know a better way, or we know exactly what it is that you want to charge us money to buy. We already know that. Okay? Teach your audience to be smarter than your competition. And finally, you build authority through proof. Just sharing stories, sharing data, having the data is authority enough. Being the one that people turn to when they want to know the answer or even the average is massive. For us, we get requests for interviews all the time by industry publications because we're the only one that has the big data set. They call us up and say, "Hey, what does the average gym charge for this? How many personal training sessions does the average personal trainer do?" We're the only ones with that data. And so it's us that they come to, and that means we get mentioned in every single article that wants to have any kind of authority built into it. So the A+ client results cycle framework goes like this. You assess, then you build adherence to the program. Get people to do what you know work. You build affinity by hyping them up, by living true to your values, repeating your mission, and highlighting the people who are successful. You build authority by talking about their success and your numbers and your proof. But then you start the cycle over. And this is really important. The cycle does not end when you publish their story. The cycle begins again when you reassess their results. Because what you can do over time, if you're building a coaching practice of any type, whether it's fitness coaching, business coaching, whatever, you assess people's results against their initial results and you say, did this work? How well did it work? How fast did it work? Can we do it better? So after you assess their results, you can ask yourself, how can I get the next generation of client these same results faster? Or even how can I get the next generation even better results? And you wind up creating this evolutionary cycle that's always tied to results. And that's what creates the A+ experience over time. When my CFO or my Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, wanted to introduce an ROI on our program, an ROI guarantee, I was scared. And that's when our program cost $2,000 to do because I wasn't sure that we could even track the ROI that people were getting. Now we charge $7,000 for our ramp-up program. We know that our ROI is more than 2.5x that because not only did we track these metrics, but once we knew the metrics, we asked, how can we improve them? How can we get people results faster? You need to start just by tracking. Do assessments on clients at intake. Then you need to do everything you can to get people to do the work that you know works until it works. Then you need to build affinity by praising them on their success and highlighting them to other people. And then you build authority by sharing their results, publishing data, and telling your clients stories. But you don't stop there, you reassess. The A+ result cycle is in our upcoming mentor certification course. But it works for every coaching business, no matter what you're coaching. You can start by taking one rep. Just start tracking clients' numbers at intake, do some check-ins with them, then promote them, tell their story, and finally publish your results. This is the A+ client results framework. By getting people better results and publishing those results, you will also get more clients. This is a virtuous cycle that continues to feed itself forever, and it's how I grew a very simple 200-word blog into a $25 million worldwide company. Hope it helps you.